Hey guys, Midget here, bringing you another Walking Dead review. Today is episode 1 of season 2, and again it is a throwback review. It's just this is the only season I really need to review to complete, my Walking Dead reviews, and I'm all up to date. I can start doing different types of videos rather than these reviews, my opinions and stuff, or stuff like that, but this is the final season. Hopefully I'll get it done soon. But I'm reviewing episode 1 of season 2, and it calls What Lies Ahead. So it starts off with Rick giving a speech, obviously, to Morgan. He's saying he's starting to lose hope, but there's always that, bit chance that he could hear him, and he tells him not to go to Atlanta and stuff like that, And he also says they're going 125 miles to Fort Bedding, and, he tells Morgan not to lose hope most primarily, but, he has lost hope. You can tell it by his voice he's lost hope, he had nothing left. He did lose hope, and then they obviously get ready, the group get ready, and Laurie and Rick talk about them and Carl going to the Great Canyon, which whom Carl doesn't remember, and they say he was really small. He got very ill, and obviously they had to go home because of his illness, and he wants to go back to the Great Canyon. Laurie looks she looks sort of scared. I don't know why, but Sophia wanted to go too, and Laurie says something along the lines of, "We're not going without Carol," or something, being her mum. And in the other car, Shane teaches Andrea how to put up a gun. The trick is, he said, the trick is to what's the word? Put it in like you took it out, basically. And they get a bit further down the road, and there is a roadblock, so they don't know what to do. Daryl leads them through it until basically Dale's van or caravan thingy pops, and they end up scavenging for supplies. And scavenge for supplies, all of them scavenge something at least one thing, and then all of a sudden you see Shane open a truck, and there's loads of water, and then they were you see him and Glenn laughing because they were really short on water, and then he just tips a whole bucket, no, not bucket, whole barrel, let's say. He's just on his head, and he's there, we short on water, rhetorical question, then just opens it, and, just has a bath in it, pretty much. And Dale sort of smiles, turns around, and sees just an amazing amount of walkers approaching, and so does Rick. He tells Rick, and Rick's almost there, about to kill them, because he only sees one. He's there with a gun like that, and then he sees another one, so he doesn't shoot. He's about to shoot, and then another 50 come out or something along those lines, and then there's more than 50 in the end, but he sees about 50, and they get a call. Well, basically Dale just ducks on his caravan. Shane and Glenn get under a truck. Carl gets under a truck. Sophia gets under a separate truck, and Laurie and Carol are in another separate truck under. And Rick's there telling everybody to get down, and he's under a separate truck and all. Andrea's just there, all the walkers passing by, she's just there fiddling with the gun. Looked kind of funny when she found out, because it's kind of this dramatic irony, since we found out what she does and what she acts like during season 3 and 4. No, she didn't go in season 3 and 4, season 3. So it's kind of this funny thing, so she's so scared of walkers, but in the end she became an ultimate badass, in my opinion. So it's kind of funny to see that, but she gets scared and goes into the toilet, and T-Dog gets his arm cut because he does something along cutting his arm on the door, and he pops his artery or something, and he's just bleeding to thingy, and he's bleeding out. Well, Daryl comes and saves him, obviously, because Daryl's a badass, and he just saves him, he puts a walker on him and puts a walker on himself, all the herd pass, but just about when the herd pass, Sophia decides to come out, and two walkers, start chasing her, and Rick, follows them and chases her and tells her to stay in this lake type thing, because she was just scared, and she's shoot them, don't leave me, but he said, I need to leave you, otherwise the other walkers will come back, you don't want that to happen ultimately, so you stay here, have the sun to your left and go back to the tracks, or to the highway basically. But instead of that, she didn't do that. We don't know what happens to her. At that moment, Rick does what he said he'd do. He kills the walkers and goes back for her like he said he'd do. But she's not there. And later he gets Shane and Daryl to help him look for her, because Shane's just there like being a dick basically. He's just there going like, you shouldn't have told her to do that or something like that, because she's young, she won't understand things like that, because there's so much going on. And he is right to some extent, but I still think that wasn't the right thing to say. Putting the leader of the group down, that might cause him to do something like mutiny, or something. But Daryl and Rick go looking at the paths. Then Carol's just there with just wanting Sophia to come back. But Rick and Daryl basically open up a walker, which is kind of fun to see. I like to see the walker being opened up and nothing happened there but a woodpecker or something along those lines of a bird. So they go back and Carol's there, crying, panicking and blaming Rick for this, which is just kind of weird, because Rick is the one helping her. Yes, he told Sophia to do one thing, but she didn't listen to him, so it's not really his fault, is it, to be honest, Carol? I love how the way she's progressed. She's just been like, crybaby and whine. She's just been whining all the time, and now she's like, look at the flowers, Lizzie, she's cold-blooded, not everything like that, so it's kind of fun to see, like how she's changed now. But the group decided to look for her, the whole group this time, and Andrea has to go at Dale, because, Dale says he saved her life, but then she goes, no, I saved your life, because I didn't want to have your blood on my hands. And the basic thing they argued about was because Dale didn't want to give her a gun, and I don't understand this, because Dale is not like a family-related person, to where he's just a randomer that, like, has bonded with her. But, just give her her gun, for God's sake, she says, it's just because basically he'd been a bit suicidal, in the last episode of season 1, where she almost committed suicide, but then Dale said he's going to stay with her, and then ultimately, I keep saying ultimately, so, she saves Dale by leaving in the end, and, but Dale thought he saved her, and then it gets kind of awkward when she leaves. He looks at T-Dog, and they have that awkward little look. But, the group in the woods, they go and see a church. I think it was St. Baptist's Church or something like that. They go in and see, like, 3 walkers, so Daryl, Rick and Shane take them out with, some blunt weapons. I think there's a hatchet and something, 2 others. But, and then outside, Shane and Laurie have a little argument saying, well, Shane wants to leave the thingy, and she's like, what shall I tell Carl and Rick? And she's like, I don't care, you don't have to say anything. And, he's made his mind up pretty much, and Andrew walks up to him once Laurie's gone and says, I want to come with you, and he's like, you'll be a liability to me, but he says, you cover my ass with a gun, you give me a gun and I can cover your ass. That's what she said. And that is true, but thank goodness it didn't happen, I guess, because the 2 main interesting characters, I think, at this point, because Carol's just not doing anything, Laurie's just, I can't say it, I know what I can't say a swear word, but, she's just putting everybody down, basically. Carol's whining, Rick's helping, Daryl's helping, Shane's helping, Carl's just being annoying, in my opinion, at this point. He's just helping everybody, but not really helping at all. And, those are the two main characters, in my opinion, at this point. Main interesting characters, I should say. But Andrea gets a bit angry when, Daryl gives the gun to Laurie, because Rick says they better head back to the camp. And, Rick, Shane and Carl will still stay. So Daryl's like, I'm not going to give you a gun, but Rick says he's not going to give them a gun, but Daryl gives Laurie a spare one, and then, you know, Laurie and Andrea have a little argument because Andrea's been giving Laurie some looks, like, you know, that she wants the gun, and she ends up taking it from Laurie because she can't take crap anymore, and says, do you want the gun? And she takes the gun. And Carol, like, is starting to whine again, and, you know, Laurie sits down and says, you can't blame Rick for everything, he's trying his hardest, he's out there, you know, risking his life for you, for your daughter, he's trying to find her, and Carol understands her, you know, she just sits there in the end. But then, back to, you know, Rick and Shane and Carl, you see that they find a deer, and, like, Carl starts to approach it, and it gets a bit dramatic, you know, intense, because I thought there was going to be Walker jump out the last time I saw her, which was like 2 years ago. So I knew what was going to happen now, and I didn't know whether it would be scary, like whether something would pop out or something. But what happens is a guy, we know who it is, but I'm not going to say in this episode, a guy shoots the deer, and it, like, penetrates through the deer and penetrates through Carl, and all of a sudden, from a really, like, moment where Shane and Rick are intrigued, they're like, you know, they're like that, it gets into, like, just some hell for them. And basically what happens is, you know, Rick goes, no, 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 and, you know, at the end scene, basically, is where, you know, Carl's lying on the floor, Rick's helping her on the floor, and Shane's got his gun and is about to kill the person that did that, you know. I understand now. So that was my whole review. Well, no, not really a review, but that's what happened. There's not really a lot of question type things in this episode since it's already been answered, because there's two thingies. Seasons gone by now. But I didn't see before why people hated Laurie, but now I do. She is a bit of a bitch, I guess. But she's a great actor, you know, because people hate her for being what she is, but the person's acting must be a very good actor to make people hate them because of their character, you know, so she's a really good actor, and I don't like her to some extent because she doesn't really help, she's just there, you know, moaning at everybody, but again, I do like her, you know, it's just kind of weird, because I do like her, but I don't like her, so she's somewhere in the middle, but, you know, the end thingy is no, well, I'll give this episode 7 out of 10, because it's an okay first episode, there's a bit of suspense, but it was sort of a meh episode, I guess. You know, there wasn't too much in it. No, the only good things in it, to be honest, were, you know, the horde passing by and the ending, because those were insane moments. Then everything else was a bit, you know, meh, and you might have a go at me because I only want the action. I truly don't. It's just I didn't find it fun, you know, because there's 1 hour of this premiere and they waste it on random stuff. I think the premiere and the season finale should be the ultimate, you know, because people will start watching it from the season premiere and maybe end on the, you know, thingy. So if you want to keep the viewers entertained, you need to have this episode, you know, entertaining, and for me it was almost that, you know, there were so much things that they could improve on and add, but it is season 2, so they didn't have the money for a lot of walkers and stuff like they have in season 4 because of the ratings and views. So that's why I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But yeah, it was a decent episode, you know, go and watch it if you haven't already. And yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed this episode, guys. If you did, make sure to give it a like. And yeah, so this is Midget, and I'm going to see you guys next time.